Tell Me More podcast is being recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures. My name is Olivia Molly Rogers and I'm excited to get comfortable in the uncomfortable with you and remind you that nobody is perfect and everybody has something going on behind the scenes that you may not know about. I hope you enjoy the podcast. Hello and welcome back to Tell Me More. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to the wonderful Alison Hope-Murray, a trailblazing Australian creative director and content creator living in London. With a unique eye for style and passion for creativity, Alison has carved out a distinctive space in the fashion industry. Known for her authentic voice and relatable approach, Alison emphasises the importance of individuality in fashion, encouraging her community to embrace their true selves. Ali also happens to be one of my oldest and dearest friends. We grew up together in Adelaide and I have always been inspired by her. So Ali, what a treat. Thank you for joining me.
That was so nice to just watch. I feel like I'm on Oprah. Just hearing you talk about me. It's so nice. Oh, thanks.
Oh, it's so nice to see your face.
I know, I don't think I've seen you for like 18 months, but soon I will see you.
Very soon, literally a couple of weeks. Can't wait. And I'll get to meet your baby, your beautiful boy.
My little boy. Yeah, I know. Crazy. So crazy. I know we were just talking about this, but I just can't believe he's real. I just can't believe he's mine and I get to keep him forever, but it's fun.
It is crazy. I still feel like my friends who've had babies are like having teen pregnancies and then I'm like, oh no, we're proper adults. It's not that weird, but it still feels weird.
I'm just playing house for sure. It's all role play.
Well, I think you're doing it very well. I would love for you to start by telling us how you would describe yourself to a complete stranger.
Sure. So where to start? I'm a creative director and content creator. I started my career as a fashion designer with a specialism in knitwear design, but I slowly segued into the world of brand creation and visual identities, which is, I guess, what led me to eventually create my own content.
I feel like I always imagined you doing something like this because you are so well-spoken, you are absolutely gorgeous, and you are so clever and creative. And I know you wanted to get into fashion from a young age. Can you take me back and tell me what that looked like when you first sort of imagined your career?
Sure. I mean, you and I used to do art classes. Do you remember painting? Mm-hmm. We painted bowls and did all that kind of stuff after school. But really all I ever wanted to do was paint clothes and make clothes. And I wanted to know how things were made. That was always really, really interesting to me. I also really remember asking like teachers at school, where's your jacket from? Or tell me about your engagement ring. I really, really was interested in the stories behind. Yeah, I remember, I think it was our year 4 teacher told me that it was really an appropriate question to ask. I don't know, I was 10. It was probably not, my timing was probably not impeccable. But that was something that always really, really fascinated me. I think getting dressed is so personal and it's so layered. It just fascinates me. And I guess it probably made sense to go into the fashion industry off the back of that. But really, fashion is powered by a marketing machine. Clothing is how we get dressed every day. And it's the clothing aspect and the personal side of getting dressed that fascinates me more and more. And as I kind of went throughout my career and, I started as a fashion designer in-house for brands. I ended up having my own brand for about a year. I worked for stylists. I ended up working on editorial teams, and eventually I started working on building brands with founders. But the reality is that personal touch was really, really missing. And I think we're in a place in the world where we're told how to dress. We're not asked how we want to dress. And I think with the rise of TikTok and that kind of two-way conversation that exists online, that is changing. And I just maybe really arrogantly thought I could be a part of that. And that is something that made me want to get out of bed every day and made me really, really excited. And I don't think I've been that excited about anything since I was that kid that wanted to make clothes. So yeah, here we are, like 2 years later. Yeah. No, thank you.
But you actually studied fashion as well, didn't you? Like when you first moved to London, can you tell me about that?
Yeah, sure. So I did my undergrad in Sydney. I ended up finishing high school in Sydney. My parents moved a lot, so I kind of always lived between Adelaide and Sydney. But I got to the end of my degree in Sydney, and I really, really wanted to focus on knitwear specifically for many reasons. Knitwear is one of the most sustainable ways to make a garment. Can be almost zero waste in the production process. So I like every other Australian in her early 20s, I used to walk around London on my, European summer travels in my early 20s being like, I could live here, walking around those expensive, nicest places in London.
Yeah, of course you could live there. Those bits look beautiful.
Of course I could live there. Look beautiful. I've never lived in those parts. But I just thought that this is where I was meant to be. I actually went on a family holiday when I was 12 to the UK, and apparently I got off the plane and said to my dad, I'm going to live here one day. And he always used to remind me of that. And so when I was looking how do I specialize and how do I focus in on knitwear, London was somewhere that, is traditionally really renowned for that. So I ended up doing my master's here at the Royal College of Art in knitwear, women's wear specifically.
Just a little shout out to Jim, because you posted some incredible photos over the weekend from a wedding that you went to of an old dear friend of yours, and your dad was there, and you shared stories that he had taken photos of like the back of your hair and just like random candid photos of you because he thought you looked so beautiful. Like that is just the cutest thing ever.
So nice.
My dad would not know how to do that. So well done, Jim. And I hope he's listening. And if he is, hi, Jim. Well done.
I'm sure he'll say hi back. Thank you. Yeah, number one fan. I really appreciate it.
Such a cutie. The fashion industry, we both know, can be pretty toxic. And I think you've shared some stories with me before and also online of some of the challenging experiences that you had and things that you saw that made you feel uncomfortable. Can you share a bit of that?
Fashion is interesting because it's such a self-conscious industry and it's its own worst enemy. I think the story that stands out the most to me is probably more when I used to do a lot of assistant work to stylists. And I remember one day, at the end of the day of the set, looking back, being like, what have I actually done today? And I had spent the entire day running to and back and forth to a supermarket to get Diet Coke for this model who wouldn't eat anything. And she just kept fainting. And the only thing she would put in her body was Diet Coke. And, I was getting 12, I was just getting as many packs of Diet Coke as I could carry. And it just wasn't enough because she wasn't putting enough food in her body. And she obviously was in a really, really dark place. And the people, on set were trying to help her and trying to support her, but she wouldn't eat anything. So we had to hold her up all day. We were being edited out of shots to hold her up. And I went home that day and probably didn't think about it for about 5 years until I was at London Fashion Week, and I was working behind the scenes on a show, and a similar thing happened again. And someone said to me, oh, isn't this classic? And I was like, yeah, I've had this before. And thinking, no, actually, this isn't okay. That the first time this happened to me was 5 years ago. 5 years have passed and we're still here.
And nothing's changed.
That's not okay. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. Like, it made me really, I think when I was young, in my early 20s, doing that kind of gig, it was just washed under the rug. It wasn't a topic of conversation. But 5 years later, it was starting to be. And I was also older and had enough, independent thought to go, I'm not sure this is going to be for me. And it was probably about 6 months later, I switched from being on fashion design teams to being on more editorial still life shoots, because I just, it wasn't a conscious decision, but it was something that really made me think, I'm not sure ethically I can do this anymore.
Yeah, which is completely fair enough. I think too, when you're starting out, you stay a bit more quiet in those situations because you think, oh, if I say something, they're not going to want to work with me again. You think that your job will be threatened, because on the other side of it, as a model, that's how I felt. I'd be like, oh yeah, I will just not eat today because you think I look better when I don't. And you go along with things that make you feel uncomfortable. You know, I did shoots like with my top off that I never would have done that. But I was like, oh, I think that this will get me further in my career. And it doesn't. It just makes you uncomfortable and just goes against everything you believe in. And then, yeah, I think down the track you start to realize like, oh, I should have spoken up then, but I didn't, but I can now. So it's amazing that you actually started to do that.
It's amazing how you do what you have to do. And actually that gets to a point where you've done enough of those things. Actually, you don't have to do them anymore. But how do we stop them at the start? And I don't have the answers to those questions, but I think it is changing. And I think I do remember when you were really, you know, well, we were both young. It's weird calling you young. We were both young, and, you know, I would style you
at the same time.
Yeah, we were young at the same time. You were a young model. I was thinking about doing more styling work. We did this like shoot, and I styled you.
Me, and your ex was a photographer or like one budding photographer, and so we did this like collaborative thing, and I was so sick at that time. I was ill. That was right in the middle of my like peak of my anorexia. And
for sure.
It was freezing. I remember we had all these like big jackets and beautiful things that you had from your wardrobe, which was like every girl's dream. Like I feel like your wardrobe was like a young Carrie Bradshaw. I would step in there and be like, oh my God, what is this magic? Like I just wanted to move in. It was amazing. And so you were just born to do what you're doing. But yeah, I remember that shoot well because I enjoyed it. Like I actually had a good day with you guys. But outside of that, in the actual fashion industry and on, you know, proper like, I don't know, booked shoots, I never had a good time. And like, I don't know if you felt the same way, that you end up doing the thing that you thought that you would enjoy doing, but because of the toxicity that comes with it, you're like, oh, this isn't what it's all cracked up to be.
No, and I remember doing that shoot and the three of us thinking, oh my God, it's so fun to have creative freedom. And you said, it's just nice to be warm because we were dressing you in things that were appropriate for the weather. And it is crazy that, you know, actually what I get to do now is more like that. You know, we're all comfortable, we're all warm, we all feel safe, but there's so many people out there who don't get that privilege. And I think if you're one of those people listening, you don't have to do that, and you can say no and just walk away. Because I think the thing that has changed is we all have a voice, we all have access to the internet, and we can talk about those things, and you don't need to feel shame about it. You can put your hand up and say, I don't think this is okay.
That's really good advice. I think, yeah, like you said, everyone has the opportunity to have a voice now, and we can actually shine a light on those things. And I think having conversations about those things hopefully will inspire others to be like, oh, wait, I'm not going to go through that. That's happened way too many times to other people. Like I feel like it happened to us so that it shouldn't have to happen to the younger girls.
Absolutely.
With your content, actually, no, before that, do you feel like that industry and being in that space and working with, you know, people who did have so much pressure to be thin, did that impact your body image?
I think what impacted me the most as a teenager was not, obviously I wasn't working as a teenager, was just culture in general. And I was very susceptible to that conversation, and it was really important to me to be really thin. It wasn't until I was actually working on sets, you know, I started working on sets as an 18-year-old, and I had to be up from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m., you know, on my feet, and I would have been up for hours before that prepping, and I'd be up for hours after that, you know, wrapping everything up. So, you know, these are like 14, 15-hour days, and I needed food to fuel me. And that's the thing that changed the conversation the most for me. And it was like, I can't do this if I'm exhausted. It doesn't really matter how that's going to change my body. I can't do this if I'm hungry. I think over time, it was very confronting to be like, oh my, you know, be around all these beautiful people and be like, I don't look like that. And there were definitely times where that made me really, really sad. But at the same time, I was conscious that was a really weird use of time. And if I spent all my time thinking about how I didn't like myself, what was I going to achieve. And I think when we were in our early 20s, there was a big millennial girl boss, like, go get them. Like, are you building a career? Are you starting a business? What are you doing? What's the hustle? And I realized I could, and I really bought into that more than I bought into the conversation around being thin. And so I think I'm lucky. I think I'm really lucky. I look at the people I worked with at the time. I think they had a really, really tough time. And a lot of those people don't work in fashion or beauty or lifestyle. They had to, have completely switched their focus and work in completely different areas because of that. So I think I'm lucky. I'm the lucky one, really.
I think too, at the same time though, you were seeing what could happen if it does go too far. You literally had a model in your hands fainting. So you're like, is it worth it? Like, I remember being on a shoot similarly that, like, I was almost fainting, and it was a shoot that I was really excited about, but I didn't enjoy any of it because I felt so hungry and cold and miserable. So yeah, you literally see what that can do to you. But yeah, it's amazing that you didn't get sucked in, because it's not as simple as that.
I think also when you see the extreme sides of it, you realize it's not real. Maybe that's the reality. I was seeing how unrealistic it was and what it took to look like that. And it just wasn't practical. It would have been a lot easier sometimes and more fun maybe if I was quote unquote skinnier, because I would have got to have access to all those samples. I could have borrowed or had some of those clothes, and that could have been really fun. That was something a lot of the other assistants were really into, but I was like, oh no, that's not for me.
That's good. I'm so glad. And I'm relieved for you, because it's torturous. We'll be right back after this quick ad break. As you guys know, running is a big part of my life and so important for my mental health. One of the most common questions I get about running is, how do I get started? Kick Run. You guys know I love Kick, and I've been using it for years. Their running programs are expert-backed and have been created to help you hit your running goals in 8 weeks. Laura Henshaw is your running guide. She's literally cheering you on and reminding you to believe in yourself every step of the way, so you never feel like you are running alone. The first run in Kick's 5K program starts with just 30 seconds of running with 90-second walking breaks. It is so important to build up gradually to prevent injury and ensure you get to your goal distance. If you're looking for some extra motivation, the Kick Run Challenge is back. You can choose your goal of 3, 5, 10, or 21 kilometers and run your way over the 8-week challenge. So if you've been thinking about running, this is your sign. Use the code TELLMEMORE to unlock your free month at Kick. Think of your first 4 weeks of the challenge on me. Now back to the show. Your content, when did you decide, or like, was it a day that you sort of woke up and you were like, I'm going to give this a crack? Or was it more gradual than that?
It was kind of two things. Arrogantly, I did wake up one day and was like, I think I'd be really good at this. And
I don't think that's arrogant. I think that's just like a really good amount of confidence.
Yeah, maybe that was slightly naive as well. But the really boring practical story is that TikTok became more and more of an everyday deliverable for me for work. And I learned by doing, and I had no video experience. I directed a lot of videos, whether that be like TV shoots or more social content, but the editing I couldn't physically do. And I thought, okay, right, this is maybe a good way to learn by doing. And I thought, okay, what's the content going to be? What am I going to film? And then I realized that ultimately I was just going to have to film myself. So I just did. I just put my phone on, I did a fit check on the street one day and it just blew up. And I thought, oh, okay, we just keep going. And I just did. I think I had 10,000 followers by the time I'd been doing it for 6 weeks, and it just kept on going. And the thing that surprised me the most about the entire experience was that it was a conversation and people weren't being mean. I think the thing that holds anyone back is we're so self-conscious, we're so self-aware, and we don't want to be cringy or, put ourselves out there. That's so embarrassing. But the reality is, to achieve anything, you have to put yourself out there. And instead of being embarrassed by the content, I was really, really proud, and it just opened up this dialogue for so many people, and it was just really fun.
Well, I feel like you very quickly found quite a niche audience, but people that like really needed your content and felt seen and heard by your content, because your messaging is quite specific, or it was particularly at the beginning. I feel like it just naturally has stayed that way, but you used to start a lot of your videos with the same line. Can you tell me what that is?
It was, hi, my name's Alison. I used to work in fashion, but now I just care about how clothes make me feel.
I love it so much. It's so good, and it's such an important message.
Maybe I should
think
do
like
that again. Oh.
Yeah, maybe bring it back for a bit, because I think it was so strong, and I feel like that's why it grew so quickly, because it was so consistent, and you were attracting the right people that weren't just seeing, you know, clothes on unrealistic body types that, like, you know, they don't think that they can go and purchase. And you have always been about like how the clothes make you feel, rather than changing to fit into, you know, something different, which I love.
Thank you. I think fashion is an industry that's so exclusive, and it feels like this tight bubble to people from the outside looking in, and no one seems to break that third wall and come out and say, oh, it's actually really bad, or, you know, these are all the things I've learned from the industry, or these are the things you need to know about clothes, or whatever. That to me, there was just, it has always felt so objectively silent. And slowly I started to see more people coming out and talking about, you know, how do trends work, or how do fabrics work, and all that stuff. And I thought that actually that's something I could contribute to, because that's something I look for in, you know, whether it's shopping or whatever it is. And these are just the conversations I'm having with girlfriends offline. Let's bring them online. And yeah, I'm just so glad that everyone enjoyed it.
It's so good. I feel like we, growing up, were told so many rules around fashion that like really stick with you, and then they're really hard to forget. Like, for example, black's flattering. Like, you should only wear black if you're like a certain size.
Are you going to
anything else?
You're going to get me so riled up.
I know. I kind of want to. Let's go.
Okay.
Stripes. Like, don't wear horizontal stripes, because that makes you.
Don't you dare wear horizontal stripes.
You are so don't you dare say
ridiculous.
It. I'm like, oh no, I'm getting sweaty. But yeah, no, it's that was the thing.
It was like, do you know what's the most offensive thing you could do as a woman? Wear horizontal stripes, or God forbid that trouser doesn't make you look skinny. God forbid. Yeah. God forbid.
But literally, the only goal was ever to look thin, or like, you know, some sort of optical illusion to make you look smaller than you are, which is such a toxic message that you can't just dress your body and feel comfortable.
I think it is so ingrained in us, it's going to take a lifetime to not think like that. It's really easy for me to say, and I say it a lot, I don't dress to look smaller, but it's a conscious every day. I have to be like, ooh, okay, that's very voluminous, but I kind of love it. It doesn't matter that I could be a size 20 or a size 2 under that. That's not the point. The volume and the drama I love. So let's move on. I think nothing makes me angrier when people comment, and it happens all the time. I don't think that outfit is very flattering. The word flattering is so rooted in that doesn't make you look skinny. That's what that word means. And I think if that is not what that word means to you, I want to grow up where you grew up, because you're so lucky. But that is what it means. And I think it will take us all a really long time to recover from that nuance. And it will be a conscious everyday choice. But once you get there, it's a lot more fun getting dressed. It's a lot less shamey. It's just more joy.
Yeah, I think that's what really shines through in your content, though. The color and the textures and the shapes. It's like you're having fun putting things together, and it's fun to watch. So it's no surprise that people just love watching you get ready. I love watching you get ready, and I know you very well. I've seen you get ready many times, but I could keep watching you daily. What do you think we can replace like flat? Because someone said it to me the other day. I was showing them images of a recent shoot that I did, and I was selecting photos, and they were like, oh, I think this one's better because it's more flattering. And I found it jarring, but I was like, I can't be bothered in this moment to sort of make you feel uncomfortable and unpack that. But I also don't know if I'm equipped. Like, I don't know if I have the language to say what we could be saying instead of flattering. Or like, what makes an image of me good? Is it just if I look skinny? Like, what can we focus on when someone's getting dressed? What do you think, what's the goal? Like, what do you think the goal is of an outfit?
Is how you feel. Like, end of story.
Keeping you warm and, you know, being practical.
Yeah. And not naked, because it's actually illegal to walk around naked. Ridiculous, but factually correct. What is the goal? I think, honestly, the goal is being comfortable. If you feel comfortable, full stop, move on. And comfort is also subjective. So, for example, for me, when I was pregnant, wearing anything below my bump was really just made me feel weird, and not in a like, oh, I feel fat or gross in this, just like there was something like sensory about it that I didn't like. So I think it's everyone has those weird nuances, or, you know, I feel very, very self-conscious of my arms. So am I going to rock around in a sleeveless look every day? No, that's not comfortable to me. So the other thing about how you feel is that if you don't feel happy in it, you won't feel good. And that does translate to every other corner of your life. And I don't care if people think that's frivolous or silly, or, you know, that shouldn't matter. It does matter, because it matters to you, and it is reflected in how you feel. So it's really, really important. And spending, you know, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, focusing on that is self-care. It's important to set yourself up for a really good day, and it will translate to other parts of your life. So for me, it's just comfort. I think when you're, you know, for you being photographed and someone else is going, but these ones are more flattering, I always spin the conversation to, oh, but the dress, it doesn't show off the dress well, or it doesn't, you know, I will pick something practical out of it to be like, okay, but, you know, what are we trying to achieve in this image? Because for me, the goal isn't that I look skinny. So, and by picking the goal out, you can kind of refocus the conversation without giving someone a mansplaining lecture on why calling someone flattering is so rooted in fat culture and offensive to so many people, because that's when things get really messy and convoluted, and it's just, you just state flattering is not something I aim to achieve. Let's move on.
I feel like what you're saying about focusing on an image or focusing on an outfit, on like, you know, how the dress is sitting and how it makes you feel, is so important, and something that I think translates into how you talk to yourself about your body. Like when you're looking in the mirror, instead of nitpicking the thing that you are insecure about, that you're focusing on something that you do feel good about and sort of shifting your language around that. And I think they're so intertwined.
When I started posting regularly, and I was really self-conscious and quite scared of being trolled. I was terrified. You know, I've worked for really big people with big social presences, and I have seen that side of it. I've seen it with you, and it's scary, and I didn't want to enter that conversation. But to this day, I have never ever had anyone say anything meaner to me that I haven't said to myself. Like, no one has said anything that has topped how mean I am to myself. And I think that's what really made me realize where we are and why this is important and why I need to keep going, because that conversation is just part of being a woman. And I don't want my children to grow up with that. That's something that I would just fight for, and it's the most important thing to me.
Yeah, it makes me so sad to hear you say that, but I can completely relate. Like, we are all our own worst critics. And I think there was something like growing up, and even in more recent years, where I was convinced that if I say it to myself, then if someone else says it, it's not so bad because I've already said it to myself. But all it does is make you feel like shit. Like, it's not helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one ends up feeling good if you're just telling yourself you look shit all the time.
No, and it's also a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, it's not helpful, but I feel like we've been taught to do that. I feel like we grew up in a dialogue of that. You know, we would see it, those magazines at the counter in the supermarket, like fat was just like blasted across every women's magazine, like circling the smallest amount of cellulite on those beautiful celebrities who were flawless, but we were told they weren't. So our expectation for ourselves is so incredibly high, it's unachievable. And once you stop aiming for perfection, you get to see all the other fun things about yourself and your body, and it's just more fun. It's way more fun on the other side.
Now, what is it, like, what's your purpose now with your content? Because I can see it, like I feel it in the messages, but I would love for you to tell us, like, what's the goal and what do you want people to feel when they, you know, when they leave your page, when they close the app? Like, what would you like them to go away feeling?
I think I am a huge consumer of social, and a huge proportion of it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel envious or jealous, or sometimes I have to really step back and go, why am I watching this? Actually, this is not the content for me. And so when someone watches my content, I don't want it to be about, oh, I want that thing. I need that thing. I want it to be educational and obviously engaging. I want people to stick around and be part of this journey that I'm on, but I want them to take something away with them, whether that be a lesson about how to look after your clothes or how to shop better for yourself, or ultimately just how to feel a little bit better. And sometimes I think sharing the most mundane things, like the most mundane everyday moments, are what really pick people up. And it's just me almost having a conversation. It's me having my internal dialogue with myself out loud on camera, because we're all very similar. And when we get dressed, we all think these things about ourselves that we don't think anyone else thinks. And so when you say them out loud and you hear someone else say them, you go, oh, I'm not that weird. It's not just me. And I hope that makes other people feel good, because if I'm not doing that, I don't know why I'm doing it.
Well, I think you well and truly hit that. Like, especially I find I'm not yet a mum. I hope to be one day, but I want every I hope so. But I love your content so much with how real you are. I think like a few weeks after having Mac, you started sharing you getting ready and what it was like with this new postpartum body that wasn't doing what you were used to it doing, and it looked a bit different, it felt a bit different, or very different. I mean, I can't speak for you, but that's the vibe that I'm getting. And you were just really honest about how exhausted you are and how sore you were. And it was just incredible to see this raw, honest content. And I am sure you're helping so many people when you're doing that.
Oh, thank you. I think I didn't talk in my pregnancy about how sick I was, because it was just, I was so sick of being sick. I didn't want that to also be my content. So then as soon as I had him, and and we don't need to talk about it, but a very traumatic birth, but we're both on the other side of it now. And I started slowly to feel like myself again. I was like, I'm going to make this video. And I didn't realize how that would affect me. Like, seeing myself on a screen for the first time after him was really, really shocking. I didn't think I looked like myself. I didn't feel like myself. I felt awful, even though I was just really determined to do it. And I sat on that video for so long. I just was like, I'm not posting this. And I sent it to my agent and I said, do you think I should post this? And she said, if you're comfortable, it says everything you need to say without saying anything. I've never felt that vulnerable. You know, I'm in my underwear on the internet all the time. It does not faze me, but something about being that vulnerable postpartum, I think it's maybe obvious, but I don't think I realized how vulnerable you would feel just in your own body. That actually really shocked me more than I expected it to. And that video, I actually can't watch it. I'm like, oh my God,
Really?
that poor girl. I feel so sorry for her.
I wonder how long it will be before you do feel like you can watch it and not find it upsetting or but it was so powerful.
I felt like I needed to post it not for anyone else but for myself, because I knew, just like everything else that I post, it's not just me. Like, I'm not the only person in this world. I'm not the only one that feels like this. And as soon as I posted it, I actually still can't read some of the comments. There's a lot of unread ones sitting in my inbox about, oh my God, this is me. And I thought, okay, I am okay, because this is a slow process. Have some grace with yourself. Do what you would do to yourself, what you would say, to anyone else. But yeah, it's.
I wonder if you found it.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that, like, as much as I say I want a child, when I hear like all my beautiful friends who've had babies tell me all their stories, I'm like, oh, I could probably wait a little bit longer. It sounds terrifying. Well,
I won't trauma dump, but it's just, and it's beautiful as it is scary. Yeah,
I wonder, with you having done so much work on, positive self-talk and accepting your body the way that it is or was, it might be even more challenging because you felt like you were in a good space with it. So then to be confronted by those feelings that you're not expecting, like that, I think that would be challenging for anyone.
There's so much conversation around, like, love yourself, and that is a huge part of the body positivity community I'm in. And I have never really felt that aligned with that conversation, because I do love myself, end of story, but I still feel like this. So what do we do with that? And I think it's all well and good to say, I love my body, but I think anyone would be lying if they said, oh, but I also kind of don't like my thighs, or I kind of, if we could just do a little bit of this. So, it's not, I'm not at the end.
That love, body positivity, and the goal being love your body and all of it and all its flaws. I just don't think that that's a realistic goal for 99% of the population. I think the goal is to not look at yourself in the mirror and pull yourself apart, but to feel okay, like neutral. And some days you're like, oh yeah, I look pretty good today. And then other days you might not feel like that, but knowing that the base level is like more attainable is, I think, makes it easier.
Yeah, I think that's so true. The day you wake up, and I speak to a lot of women who say they wake up one day and go, enough with the negative comments. I'm just not going to do it anymore. And it's not about waking up and starting a diet plan. It's about waking up and going, I am good enough. And that's it.
I love that.
And it does.
I love you.
Yeah.
There's so much that I want to ask you about, but we're going to run out of time. So I want everyone who needs to learn more about fashion materials and quality and what to look for with their fashion when it comes to sustainability and looking after your clothes and all of those things. You have all of that content on your TikTok and on your Instagram. So we're going to send them that way. Now, I would love for you to share to anyone who's listening and they feel like they're in a bit of a fashion rut. What are some tips that you can give them that aren't, don't wear horizontal stripes,
or don't only wear black, or you can't wear capri pants, or I think if you're in a rut, it's not about buying something new. It's about working out what the rut is. So I always do this, and it's I'm going to be honest, a time-consuming pursuit. But you just need to allocate a couple of hours, a Sunday afternoon, and literally take everything out of your wardrobe, put it on the floor. I always put it on my bed because I know that I have to take it off my bed by the end of the day in order to go to sleep. So it's a goal.
Yeah, and but I mean, I've done that before, and then I've just like pushed it to this other side of my bed, or it's just then gone to the floor, and I'm like, I'm going to bed, I give up. But it's a good idea.
It's a start. So, and then it's always really interesting to me what you gravitate towards from that. And I use the goal of what do I want to wear today? Because it's not about, well, what am I going to wear to the office? What am I going to wear to this wedding? What am I going to wear to dinner tonight? It's like, no. You spend most of your life in the clothes you wear 9 to 5, whether that be like in an office, at home, working from home, whatever it is. And you pick out the things that you want to wear the most. And I always hang them up and go, okay, that's a lot of tops, or it's a lot of trousers, or okay, none of these things go together. Or for a long time it was like, okay, you want to wear 5 dresses, but you own, 78 tops and 28 pairs of trousers. And it's like, I think you're a dress person. You just want to wear these dresses. So what do you need to go with those dresses? Do you need to buy some cardigans? Do you need to, how are you going to layer them? Because you can't wear a dress every day unless you make them a little bit more versatile. So I think
especially not in London or Melbourne.
No. I think it is just about looking to see what you already have and working out why you feel like you're in a rut. I think it's sometimes really helpful to look at what other people are wearing and how they're putting their clothes together. I think that's great for inspiration. But if you feel stuck, it's more about you and what you have, and you need to get yourself out of that before you can feel inspired, because ultimately you're the one wearing the clothes.
You're inspiring me. I want to go home and like go through my wardrobe tonight. The guys are nodding as well. I think they're going to do the same. Everyone's doing an Ali inspired wardrobe edit.
A clutter to capsule, as we call it.
Yes, that's what we call it.
It's my life's work, cleaning up my wardrobe. It's my pride and joy, but I'm not perfect. I, at the moment, feel so stuck. I don't know what to wear day to day. I've just stopped breastfeeding. Before that, it was like, how do I wear clothes and breastfeed? I can't be naked all the time, but honestly, it would be more practical to be. So you also need to take into consideration where you are and what you're doing, because the clothes need to work for you. You don't need to work for the clothes. You don't need to change. You don't need to do anything. You just need to make these clothes work for you.
And then how do you stop yourself from getting too stuck into trends and feeling like you do need to purchase every new thing that comes up, that comes into fashion, and, feel like you're keeping up with it?
I think the thing about trends is that the sole purpose of a trend is for them to come and go. So, if you're like, I really want this top, I need this top in my life, that honestly you can say to yourself, I won't need this in 6 months, because there will be another top. There will be another thing. I think it's also important to know how to identify a trend. If you start to see this said top in every single shop, you're going to get sick of seeing it on other people. So you're going to get sick of wearing it on yourself. So is it worth investing in? And every item of clothing is an investment, because the most sustainable thing we can do in shopping is to just wear the clothes we already own for longer. So if you try and shop outside a trend cycle, you will inevitably find you wearing your clothes for longer, and you'll inevitably find yourself gravitating to things that you love, not because you're seeing them everywhere or, you feel like you have to have it. You'll fall in love with a piece, and it will stand the test of time a lot better.
That's such good advice. Do you have like a rule around, like, if you see something that you want to buy, do you wait a certain amount of time, or do you look at it a certain amount of times before you get it?
I will never, and I say this, I never impulse buy, but I did impulse buy a pair of shoes a couple of weeks ago, but it was only because the baby was sleeping and I was so ecstatic to be out of the house that I just bought them. That's probably the only impulse thing I bought in a really long time. And honestly, I regret it. And I was like,
really?
I really regret it. They really, it's a pair of Hermes or Rans. No, I've worn them. Oh. Obviously, I wore them out of the shop because I was so ecstatic with myself.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they were really, it's a very expensive era. I just felt like I deserved a present.
Of course you do. That was probably like a little slightly OTT.
yeah. A little bit over the top and unnecessary. But, maybe I'll frame them and they can be my special sandals on the wall.
They have a good story.
Do I have... Yeah, that I don't impulse purchase for that reason. I think you have to think about how it fits in your existing wardrobe. If you have to buy something to go with that thing, if you have to buy an entire outfit to go around something, that is not something you should be buying, in my opinion. I make sure of that. So if I have to buy the entire outfit, it's a big red flag for me. Or if I have to, if I don't really have rules around time. Like, it's not like a month needs to go past or whatever. It's more about if I open my wardrobe the next morning and go, I actually really want to wear that jumper, or that jumper would have gone well with that dress. If there's multiple options that something works with, then it's a no-brainer. I'm going to wear it, we'll buy it. The other thing I do is if I buy something, the rule is I can't wear it the next day. I can't just rush to wear it because I'm so excited and it's so shiny and new. I hang it on my cupboard. I have these hooks on the front of my closet, and I just look at it. And if I want to wear it for 5 days in a row or whatever, a week goes past and I still want to wear it, then I'll start wearing it. But if a couple of days goes past and I'm like, I actually don't like it anymore because I'm seeing it every day and I'm getting sick of it, then it's more likely to be either a trend piece or something I'm just not going to want to wear in 2 months' time. And to me, that's not a good investment.
That is genius. This is such good advice. You're just the best.
I hope so.
You are. Everyone can find you on TikTok at Alison Hope-Murray. Yes. And
correct.
Same on Instagram.
Yes.
We wrap up every episode with a segment called Oranges and Lemons, which is where you share your lemon of the day or the last few days, because I know it's early in the morning for you, so you might not have a lemon yet. Something, a bit more sour that's happened, and then an orange is something a bit more sweet and positive.
My lemon, yes, it is very early. It could be that my baby woke up at 5:30, but the real lemon is that I had a vision for what I wanted to wear to a wedding this weekend, and I left it till last night to try it on, and we're literally going to this wedding this afternoon. And the vision doesn't achieve the vision goals. The outfit does not work together. I hate it
when that happens. I'm really happy though. I'm sorry that that's your lemon, but it makes me happy to hear that happens to you as well, because I feel like your visions are so clear. But like, this happens to me all the time. Actually, I filmed a Get Ready With Me yesterday where I had an idea in my mind, and the video is absolute chaos. And I'm like, maybe I shouldn't post this, but I think I probably should.
Post it.
I broke my nail while I'm putting my shoes on. Like, it's chaos. And like the self-talk, I'm saying as you go, when you're like, okay, we're just going to try this. I'm like, who's we? There's no one else in my room with me. It's just me. But I'm like trying to like talk myself through it.
No, you should. It's like a hype up video.
Hype up chaos.
Just be your own best cheerleader. Yeah.
I think people would be happy to hear that the queen of fashion, Alison Hope-Murray, still has moments where the visions don't quite match.
Oh yeah, there's I do document most of them, but I was in such a moment yesterday where I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. It's really bad. This dress doesn't really fit, and also I just look like a Disney character, which is not my normal go-to. But anyway, we'll see.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to have to wear it. I actually sent a video of myself wearing it to my mum and my sister, and I was like, is this as bad as I think it is? And they're like, it's fine. And I was like, maybe it's fine and I just have to wear it. I think they were being polite. So I think I actually don't know. I don't know. We're just going to wing it. But, take a leaf out of my own book. If you feel good, it'll be great. So maybe I just need to hype up the look a bit, like you'll Get Ready With Me. Just be like, no,
yeah,
we're going to make it work.
Up. Just channel your inner Disney princess. What about an orange?
Yeah. An orange, obviously, talking to you, life highlight, always. My baby's learned how to roll over, and that is just very cute to watch. And every time he rolls over, he looks so impressed with himself, and I'm like, I need to be that impressed with myself daily because it looks very satisfying. He's hyping himself up. If I could high-five him, if I could high-five him, I would. He's just so into it, and that's been really fun to watch.
I love that. That's such a nice orange. I'm going to give my lemon is you probably heard it throughout this episode, and I apologize to people for the audio if they do hear it or have heard it, but it was absolutely bucketing down. It's the middle of spring and it should be beautiful, but it's not. So that's a lemon. But my orange is that I'm escaping this very soon and I get to visit you in London. So that's my orange. The countdown is on and I'm so excited. And I'm so grateful that you came on your Friday morning. So thank you so much for joining me. And I'll be watching you get ready.
Thank you for having me.
Every day.
Yes, you will.
No, it's been such a pleasure. You're an absolute gem and I just adore you. So thank you. And I'm really proud of you.
No,
also.
Thank you. Likewise, I couldn't have started doing this if you weren't already doing this. So you led the way, really.
Do you think so? I don't know about that. I feel like there's a fear that like Adelaide people can be a bit judgy, but we just ignore them and we focus on the rest. Anyway, Adelaide people, I love you. I don't mean that.
Just facts though. Sorry guys, but yeah.
Sorry.
No, Adelaide's my home. Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. All right, my queen. Yeah. Love you. Thank you so much.
Love you. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Tell Me More. This show wouldn't be possible without you. If you'd like to show your support, please subscribe or follow the podcast on your favourite platforms, and don't forget you can watch full episodes on YouTube and Spotify.